All right, what's going on, guys? So I just got done with a 6-mile run. 6 miles in about an average pace of 7:21. A little over 6 miles. 6 miles and 6.22 miles. Average pace of 7:21. So not too bad, considering that a maintenance run. But anyway, while I was running, I was thinking about what some of you guys were asking me, and you wanted to know a little bit about how to prevent running injuries. Well, I got that for you. And I actually have 6 pretty big pieces of advice that I can offer you that have helped me over the years, that I've picked up from other experts, other running experts over the years, that will no doubt set you up for success if you follow them and pay attention to these 6 steps. But real quick, before I forget, if you like this kind of things, all things fitness, nutrition, military career enhancement, schools, information, things like that, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Liking and subscribing really does help with the YouTube algorithm, and it makes sure that more people that could use this type of information actually get their hands on it and are able to receive it. So please do everyone that favor. Like and subscribe. Okay, so that's out of the way. So number 1, first things first, overtraining. On average, remember, it doesn't matter what your running plan is, what sort of running regimen you're on, how you're trying to improve your running. As a general rule of thumb, always remember that you should only be improving your running distance or running intensity by an average of 10% per week. Okay, so whatever math that adds up to you, whether you're trying to improve your 2-miler or you're trying to eventually run a marathon, you don't want to increase your mileage and or intensity by anything more than 10% per week. Okay, so do that math with your program, make sure that adds up. 10%. You know, so if you're running, if you're currently running a mile and your goal is to build up safely to be running a 2-miler at the same pace that you were running your mile in, then you only want to increase that training by 1/10 of a mile per week. And that's a little on the low end of things, but you get what I'm trying to say. Just remember 10% and you should be safe as far as overtraining goes. You got to remember to give your body some time to heal, man. Running uses a lot of muscles in your body. It's not just your legs. It's kind of like a full body exercise. So your body needs the time to heal. You don't want to overuse it. All right, number 2 is improper footwear. Okay, so you can't just go out and buy any shoes that you think look cool. You can't just get, you know, the cool looking Nike Boosts or whatever they are just because everybody else is out there getting it. You have to make sure that you get some running shoes that actually make sense for you. Okay, everybody's feet are different. If you suffer from flat feet like I do, then you're going to need some shoes with a lot more support already built in. I would recommend some Brooks shoes, you know, something like that. These shoes are known for their for the support that they have built in, especially in the arches. Making sure to get the right shoes is going to set you up for success, especially when you're looking at putting on a whole lot more miles, or if you're working on your sprint work and you're putting a lot of impact on your feet. A lot of people don't know this, but injuries that you see, you know, working all the way from the ankles all the way up to the neck and the upper back typically start from the feet at your distal region. So like if you don't have your footwear right, all you're doing is aggravating different areas in your body to where they will eventually break down and become injuries. What you want to do is make sure that your footwear allows you to run in the most neutral position possible. And what I mean by that is that your foot and ankle are as straight hitting the ground as possible. Okay, if your foot tends to roll inward, or your ankle tends to roll inward like this, then that means you are pronating too much. You're over pronating. Okay, and that just means you need a little more support in the arch to even that out, so when you're running, you're walking on it at a neutral position. Now if your foot tends to supinate like that, or you know, you suffer from supination, then it looks like this, and the outside of your foot tends to hit the ground a little bit too much. That's actually something that happens to me. I had knee surgery once on my right knee, and so now my right foot tends to supinate to the right, and you can kind of even see it just standing there. It tends to do this all on its own. All right, and that causes me problems that I deal with on a constant basis. But don't let that happen to you. Just make sure that you get the right feet and make sure that you're running in a neutral position. All right, number 3, running on hard surfaces too often. Okay, you definitely don't want to do all your running on hard surfaces. You need to mix it up. And a lot of people don't know this, but concrete is actually 10 times harder than asphalt is. So if you have the if you have to run on a hard surface, try to at least make it be asphalt and not concrete. But for as often as you possibly can, you're going to want to try to run on an off-road trail. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfectly level, you know, you can challenge yourself. It can be even rocky at times, but honestly, that's going to be more healthy for you as you start adding on the miles than it would be if you were just running down a road or a sidewalk, especially when you're talking about long distance runs, pushing past like 6 miles or so. And even if you're that person that's like only got hardball roads around them to train on, you know, then work with what you got. Just be really careful about it. Make sure you're not, you know, jolting your heels on the ground as you run. A good way to tell if you are, you know, using too much impact as you're running is if your like excess fat on your body starts to like jiggle too much when you run, especially if you're a leaner type of person. You start jiggling all over the place. That's how you know your impact is a little too much. So just really pay attention, work on your stride. You should feel like you're running on clouds as much as possible. So train your body to feel that way, even if you're running on hardball surfaces. All right, number 4 is you tend to make it a habit to run with tight or inflexible muscles. All right, now what you shouldn't do is make a whole, you know, 20 to 30 minute stretching session and deliberately stretch out your muscles before you run. You shouldn't do that. But what you should do before you run is active stretching. Okay, and the difference between static stretching and active stretching is static stretching is when, you know, you do a hamstring stretch, you know, and you sit there, you know, do your hamstring stretch for 20 to 30 seconds. That's a static stretch. Okay, active stretching is more like, you know, donkey kicks, something like this. You stand against a pole and you just kind of do some donkey kicks in the back. All right, loosen up the muscles, get them primed, get them warmed up. Okay, maybe do some jumping jacks, do some leg swings. Those are a favorite for me, the leg swings. You know, just grab a little pole and swing out the legs, open up the hip flexors. You want to do those types of stretches rather than the static stretching, and that will really help to open your body up and make sure that you're running with nice loose muscles that are ready for activity. The worst thing you could do is run with tight muscles. So that's just going to force your body to use muscles that it otherwise shouldn't be, and it's going to be forcing your body to lengthen those muscles when they just weren't really primed and ready to do so. So tears are going to be really common if you do that. Cramps, you know, those sorts of things. So just make sure you get a nice little 10 to 15 minute active stretching session in before you run. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you got to do something. Do that before you run. You should be good to go. But that doesn't mean that static stretching doesn't have a place in running. It's just something that you do after your run. Okay, so make sure you're static stretching after your run. And again, the static stretching are those long 20 to 30 second stretch holds where you're stretching your hamstrings, your thighs, your calves, abs, everything. Okay, as a runner, you should be stretching everything. Take your time with stretching. You should be doing a good 25 to 30 minute stretching session, you know, after every good, decent run. And I know that's hard to fit into the schedule sometimes. I'm guilty of not doing it, but that's really what you want to try to aim for every time. All right, number 5 is runners who have muscular imbalances. Now, you might not know that you have muscular imbalance, but I'll give you some examples so that you can look out for it. And then I'm gonna tell you how you can fix it too. Okay, so a good example, a pretty common example that runners suffer from is tight hip flexor muscles, okay? And that's usually caused by really tight quads. And all you need to do, and the tight quads will typically happen just from running too much, okay? Or you're just not strength training enough. So because the runner has these tight quadriceps, they are now imbalanced at their hamstrings, okay? So the quadriceps, the front part of the top part of your legs, those are your quads. The back will be your hamstrings, okay? So if your quads are too tight and your hamstrings are too loose, then that's a muscular imbalance, okay? And a lot of runners have this, they don't even realize it. What you need to do to fix that is train the hamstrings, all right? Go do some squats, go do some those hamstring curls on the machines. You need to make sure you're incorporating strength training as a runner, okay? It's super important. You have to work out those muscular imbalances. Another pretty common thing is runners who tend to stick out their jaw a little bit, or their neck a little bit too much, or their shoulders are curved in like this. That's typically caused by tight pectoral muscles, okay? So the chest. That's going to happen, you know, when you got guys going to the gym and they're just banging out those heavy reps on the chest, on the bench press, but they just never stretch, right? They just go home and drink their protein shake and they don't stretch. Well, and I do that sometimes too. So I'm not trying to beat you up too bad, but you got to make sure you stretch out the chest, okay, so that they don't get too tight. If you're a guy that's like suffering from those shoulders that go like this, it just means you need to stretch a little bit more. It also means that you're suffering from a muscular imbalance. Your chest muscles are too tight and your back muscles, your delts, are just too loose, okay? So all you need to do is stretch out the chest a little more and go do some delt training, go do some more back days, okay? Get some more work done on the pull-up bars, get some more work done on the cable rows and start strengthening up those back muscles, okay? And that will help you balance out the top portion of your body so that when you're running, you have a nice good posture, your spine's nice and straight, and you can just run for miles without feeling any pain, and it's going to save you from injury in the long run. Okay, so muscular imbalances, make sure you're working on that. Okay, so that last one's really going to lead me into number 6, and that's running with poor posture. I bet a good 50% of everybody watching this video now runs with poor posture. No offense to you, it's just something that a lot of runners have a hard time getting over, especially when you're working on endurance or long distance runs. When you start getting tired and you're just kind of moving your body forward, you know, it happens to the best of us. Running with poor posture is absolutely going to cause injuries down the line. I mentioned it before, poor posture is going to cause your heel strike to be too impactful, okay? All that impact on your heels is gonna start hurting your knees. You're gonna start developing runner's knee. You're gonna start getting lower back pain in your sciatic. That's all from impact, man. So if you get that kind of stuff, you airborne guys know what I'm talking about. That's from impact. You need to work on your heel strike. You need to work on your stride, okay? I would, at least 1 or 2 days out of the week, I like to work on my running posture, okay? I go out there, I don't worry about pace, I don't even necessarily worry about distance. I usually just think about time. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go run for 30 to 45 minutes today, and it's all just gonna be worried about posture, okay? And I go out there and I run, I take it nice and easy, nice and slow, and the whole time I just focus on my posture. I focus on my heel strike. I focus where my feet are hitting the ground and how they're hitting the ground. I focus on my supination and my pronation. I make sure that my feet are neutral, in a neutral position. I make sure that my knees are nice and straight and that they're not tilting too far outward or too far inward, and they're nice and straight. I look down a lot when I focus on my posture when running. I make sure that my back isn't too far out, so I'm not like puffing out my chest like a bird, okay? Because that's just gonna cause lower back problems and neck problems, all right? You wanna be nice and natural posture, okay? Just like they taught you in school back in the day. Sit up straight. That's how you should be running. You should be sitting up straight, okay? Your arms should be swinging, but not to the point where you're trying to swim through the air, okay? It should be like a natural swing, all right? Natural swing, and that will help you to focus more on the leg movement, which is really what you're trying to get after, okay? So make sure your arms, don't focus on your arms too much. Just kind of let them do what they naturally do. Focus all on the legs, the lower back, and then your head tilt. Head tilt should be just right, okay? Sometimes when you get really tired, you know, you tend to start looking down like this. I do that a lot, man. I'm guilty of it too. You start looking down like, oh my God, woe is me, this really sucks. Well, you need to try not to do that, okay? This is gonna just make it harder for you to breathe, and it's gonna put a lot of pressure on the back side of your neck, which is gonna translate to problems in the lower back, okay? So you wanna make sure you have nice straight posture, looking up, chin up, about 90 degrees from the surface, and you're just running nice and easy, okay? So really work on your posture. I would recommend at least 1 time out of the week, just go out there and train posture, man. Take it easy, focus on your posture, and get it right. All right, guys, well, that was 6 pieces of advice that I could afford to you right now after my 6-mile run. Those are 6 like critical pieces of advice, things to look out for to prevent injuries and to make sure that your running form is on point. It's important to take these things into consideration so that you can keep improving during your training and limit your injury as much as possible. Now, I wanted to keep this video more on injury prevention, okay? So I'm gonna do so and keep it that way, but be on the lookout for another video where I will discuss injury treatment, okay? Running injury treatment. So again, if you like these kinds of things, all things fitness, nutrition, military, career enhancement, information about military schools, and more, make sure you like and subscribe. Again, it helps with the algorithm and to get this information out there for more to see. If you have any tips of your own for running and injury prevention that you want to share with the community, please drop that in the comments, man. The more information, the better. Besides that, that's all I got for you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.